You're looking at Target Center as Prep 45 proudly presents the Minnesota State High School League Boys Basketball Tournament. I'm Mike Beaton, joined by Tim Allen of Canis Hoopus, and we have the first of 6 games coming to you from the home of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx. It's number 1 seed Hopkins against Woodbury in our first game in the Class 4A bracket, a battle royale between 2 groups of Royals. And as we get ready to introduce the starters, Tim, we see a big crowd today. Hopkins the favorite to win a 4th consecutive title. If they do, they would be the first school in 4A to do so since the expansion to 4 classes, and the first school overall to win 4 in a row since Patrick Henry when they accomplished the feat from 2000 through 2003. This Hopkins squad used to being in the state tournament, of course, qualifying every year. How will that experience help?
You know, you're used to the crowd, you're used to the floor, you're used to having all the attention on you, so that kind of helps. The coaches know what to expect. They know how to tell their players what to expect. Some of the older kids know what to expect. Makes it a lot easier to come out on this floor and play well if you're already used to that. It's going to be a good matchup, even though Hopkins is the overwhelming favorite. I'm looking forward to a good game.
I think all the games are going to be good. When you look at the 4A bracket, the 4 seeds in this class have a combined 5 losses. Now that doesn't mean we don't have upsets.
Right.
There's always room for that, especially in boys basketball. A much higher potential for upsets than in girls, just the parity is higher. With girls, it's getting there, but still a ways to go. But that just goes to show you how good these top teams are.
Yeah, they're very good. They have a lot of talent, do a lot of good recruiting, and top to bottom, they have a lot of good players, so I agree with you.
Woodbury hasn't made the big dance since 2007. This is their 6th overall appearance. Someone's going to have to play Hopkins, as we know, and it was Woodbury who got that assignment. What is their move?
I think right now they're ready to take on the task. I think, you know, if you're a team like this who's not the favorite, you kind of have that attitude of us against the world. We can beat these guys. It's a good challenge. So that's going to be their game plan going in. Obviously, they're going to prepare for a very tough team. Hopefully, they've done their scouting and they're prepared.
Both schools very balanced rosters. Woodbury has 3 players in double figures. Bernard Suggs, Ricky Suggs, and Connor McKean. They all average about 13 points per game. Hopkins, led by Siani Chambers. He is headed to Harvard next year. He averages 16 points a game. Demetrius Martin at 14.1. So on paper, this figures to be a very close game.
Right. I think Woodbury's got a better front court, at least in the starting sense. The starting 2, Connor McKean and Ricky Suggs. They're good interior scorers. They're good rebounders. That's going to be where they have a little bit of an advantage, I think, against Hopkins. They're going to need to exploit that because the guard play, Hopkins is definitely the favorite.
Hopkins coming in at 28-1, ran through most of their schedule this season without much difficulty. Suffered 1 loss, and that was to Benilde St. Margaret's, a team that missed the 3A bracket. They were upset by Minneapolis Washburn in the section final. Benilde St. Margaret's, if that sounds familiar to you, it will be soon the alma mater of Sanjay Lumpkin, who is the son of Jim Peterson, the Minnesota Timberwolves color commentator and Minnesota Lynx assistant coach. So Hopkins otherwise ran through the table. They figured to be the favorites. Looking at their section bracket, didn't have much of a challenge. They beat all their teams handily, Southwest, Wayzata, and Edina, to make another big dance. This is their 19th overall appearance. Of course, much history with the Hopkins Royals. Chris Humphreys, we know, went there. Then he became known for his short-lived fling with the Kardashians. Woodbury had to sweat out an overtime win against Roseville to qualify for the state tournament, 68-66. They had a 3-point edge over White Bear Lake in the section semis, beat Stillwater handily. So Woodbury, they may not have been here for a while, but they're battle tested.
Hopkins hasn't had a close game in a while, so we'll see how that plays into it if things get tight here.
We will pause momentarily as we play our national anthem. The national anthem the way it was meant to be played. Starting lineups for Hopkins: Siani Chambers, number 4 at guard; Demetrius Martin, number 12 at guard; Jake Wright, number 20 at guard; Jamal Davis, number 22 at forward; and Nick Jorgensen, number 41 at forward. Starters for Woodbury: Renard Suggs, number 2 at guard; Robert Claypool, number 4 at guard; Ryan Fritz, number 10 at guard; Connor McKean, number 20 at forward; and Ricky Suggs, number 23 at forward. Woodbury wearing the white jerseys, Hopkins wearing the royal blue. As our battle royale is about to begin, the winner plays the winner of our upcoming quarterfinal game between Osseo and Duluth East in the semifinal round, which we'll have on Channel 45. Tip-off, first possession goes to Hopkins.
That's what I was saying. Hopkins hasn't had a close game in a while. Sometimes when you get into those close situations, you haven't been there, it gets a little sticky, but if they get out quick like they're doing right now, it could be a long day for Woodbury, so they need to keep it close early.
Jamal Davis with the first basket of the game. Woodbury looking to go inside. It's deflected. It will stay with the Royals. Interestingly, no one on Woodbury's team was in the top 5 in the Suburban East Conference in scoring. Hopkins had 3 of its players in the top 10 in the Lake Conference.
Woodbury's scoring is pretty balanced. They get it from a lot of places. As I said before, inside is kind of a strength of theirs. That's where they need to go a little bit more today than maybe even they normally do.
Siani Chambers misses the pull-up and the rebound by Robert Claypool.
Hopkins is a pretty fast-paced team. They're going to be looking to get out and transition, get a lot of easy shots, and so Woodbury, by slowing it down, is going to have that advantage as well, not giving up those transition attempts.
Burying the three-pointer is Renard Suggs. Woodbury takes a 3-2 lead. As we mentioned, there is a favorite, but I think this 4A bracket could be one of the closest we have seen in years.
Yeah, it's shaping up to have a lot of close games. Hopefully we don't see too many blowouts here. I think we're going to have a bunch of close finishes, especially in this game.
As while Hopkins, you mentioned, hasn't been challenged, only 1 loss all year. They don't have Joel Coleman anymore. He went to Minnesota.
Right.
They don't have Marvin Singleton. Still a strong roster,
yeah,
but not quite as big as they once were.
Yeah, Siani Chambers is obviously a very good player. There's still a lot of quality talent on this team.
And getting the putback is Nick Jorgensen. He averages 6.5 boards a game. Hopkins goes up 4-3. The foul was tagged against Woodbury's Robert Claypool. Pulling up and getting the bank is Renard Suggs.
Renard Suggs.
Out to Jorgensen. Jorgensen thought about a 3, backs off. There is no shot clock, so you can take as much time as you want. Not that these two schools are doing that. 3-pointer off the mark from Jamal Davis, and it's picked up by Claypool.
Good defense on the penetration and kick out.
Claypool with a little crossover.
Nice move.
Can't finish, though. It will go to Hopkins.
Great move. Needs to finish that basket.
We want to remind you that you can order a DVD copy of this and any of our tournament games. From the quarterfinals to the championship round, click the Purchase DVD link on the Prep 45 webpage screen. Prep 45, your official online home of the Minnesota State High School League tournaments. And a couple of empty possessions for both schools. Chambers trying to beat the coverage. Can't do it. Jorgensen races in for an offensive board. That's Jake Wright. Out to Martin. Martin pulls inside. Jorgensen, another rebound, and he's going to the line. A lot of drives coming up short, and Hopkins, it's somewhat surprising because they're used to playing in Target Center. They've been doing so for the last 4 years.
Yeah, a lot of easy shots are being missed right now, but Nick Jorgensen is he's playing real well, giving a lot of energy. He didn't receive that pass at the top of the key, wasn't expecting that from Chambers to turn the ball over, but other than that, he's been playing a nice few minutes here to begin the game, a lot of energy.
Jorgensen missing the front end. He shoots 77% from the free throw line, and you want an idea on how good Hopkins is. They may only have 2 or 3 double-digit scores, but of their starting 5, the lowest field goal percentage shooter is Jake Wright at 48%.
Yeah, that tells me they're getting a lot of easy shots, and they're finishing them, unlike some of the ones we've seen so far this morning.
Jorgensen bricks both free throws. I would kill to have a 48% field goal accuracy. And nice patience by Benjamin Rexroth. Waited for the defense to move by, easy layup.
Yeah, that was a great cut. Jorgensen lost his man, tried to get the block, but nice finish, good patience from the kid.
Rexroth, a 6'4" senior center. Three-pointer, bullseye. Jake Wright with his first basket. We're tied up at 7.
Nice trap there in the backcourt.
There is a 10-second rule, and the pressure works for Hopkins, and they will get possession. If that system looks familiar to you, the Hopkins girls team uses a similar strategy. Brian Kosdorf, the head coach of the Hopkins girls team, was once an assistant of Ken Novak Jr., the head coach for the Hopkins boys team.
And if Hopkins can do that all day and get some of those easy turnovers, that's going to lead to transition baskets. That's how their field goal percentage is so high, getting baskets like that off of turnovers. And that ball movement we saw along the perimeter to get that open three-point shot. That's the kind of movement that Hopkins thrives off of.
New player in for Hopkins. That is Kamali Chambers, number 2. And a steal. Woodbury has numbers. Yes! Connor McKean.
They finally finished a layup attempt.
And Martin puts down the tray from the left wing. 10-9. We have a quick stoppage as they go and fix the net. I'm not surprised Woodbury's playing this close so far. Again, Hopkins may be the favorite, but you have to recall both schools in the metro area, so they play a lot of high-quality teams within their conference. Woodbury in the suburban east, so you've got White Bear Lake. Cretin-Durham Hall was a state participant last year. Roseville. Hopkins, of course, has Eden Prairie in their conference. Minnetonka, Edina. So both schools have been very battle-tested. Three-pointer is short from Renard Suggs. Rebound, number 44, that's Stefan Sharp. Martin, out to Jorgensen, right corner, no. Rebound, Renard Suggs, and he draws the foul.
Yeah, when they set up that trap, you got to have that strong, you got to close off the movement. They didn't do that. They had to reach to stop Suggs, and they couldn't do it without fouling. You got to be a little bit more disciplined if you're going to institute that trap at that point.
Among common opponents, Woodbury and Hopkins have played Edina and Cretin-Durham Hall. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. The charge is called against Ricky Suggs.
And another nice play from Nick Jorgensen. He's, again, giving a lot of good energy here. He's not making a lot of plays that are going to show up on the stat sheet. Some he has, a few nice rebounds, some points inside, got fouled once, but plays like that, the offensive fouls, are even more important because they're going to give your team an extra possession and allow your team a chance at more points.
Looking at the common opponents, Woodbury beat Edina in their lone meeting of the year in December and split the season series with Cretin-Durham Hall. Traveling violation called on Martin. Hopkins swept Edina in the regular season and of course beat them in the section final to get to the state tournament again and crushed Cretin-Durham Hall 74-45 back in December.
We're finally seeing the defense pick up a little bit. It was all offense to start this game. A few missed layups brought the field goal percentages down, but that was still not great defense. But here we're seeing intensity pick up a little bit on both sides.
Woodbury won a state championship back in 1983 in the 2-class era. Their lone title in the sport of boys basketball. Renard Suggs puts down the tray from the left corner.
Nice job finding the open Suggs in the corner.
Woodbury answering every Hopkins basket so far, and that's why they are up 12-10, and a steal. Ricky Suggs out to Renard, got it.
They ran that break perfectly.
Woodbury up 14-10.
And we'll see how Hopkins deals with this. They're not used to being down too often.
They lost just once all year. Foul before the shot. Drawing it is number 44, Stefan Sharp. We'll see who it's tagged against. It's on Rexroth.
It's the fourth team foul. For Woodbury, Diallo Powell enters the game.
And the voice you hear on the public address system is Dave Wright, the sports information director at Hamlin University. I believe that's your alma mater.
That is my alma mater. Go Pipers.
You and I had the benefit of covering a few of the men's games this year, and Hamlin just missed the playoffs by the skin of the teeth.
Yep.
Came down to the last game of the year. They just didn't get the help they needed to get into the playoffs. But it was a fun year to cover MIAC conference basketball.
Yeah, fun season, good group of guys. Mike Campbell, senior. Don't know what he's off to now, but he was a great player, good kid. Fun to watch.
MIAC did not have great representation this year in the NCAA Division III tournament. Bowing out early, the defending champions St. Thomas Tommies were knocked out in the second round. Getting the runner is Ricky Suggs. The women's team for St. Thomas made the Final Four, their first in 12 years. Sharp out to Martin. No good. That's Kamali Chambers, I should say. And picking it up is Ryan Fritz.
Hopkins likes to shoot those three-point shots, but they're being well contested right now by the Woodbury kids. They're getting out on them, they're getting the hands up. They're not allowing easy attempts.
In and out from Ricky Suggs. Kamali Chambers, one-on-one, beats the coverage for the layup.
That was not a great contest by Ryan Fritz. You got to hold your ground a little bit better. You just kind of let Chambers go right by him on that. Went for the gamble a little bit, and you know, if you're going to stop a player like Chambers, you can't give up position that easily.
Woodbury has a 16-12 lead, though, with 11:16 left in the first half. Back and forth pace so far. And the first half, I always call it the appetizer. Second half, your entree. But the longer Woodbury stays up or even stays in contention with Hopkins, the more confident I believe they'll become. And that could be a big danger to the defending 4A state champions 3 years running.
Yeah, that's very important. You want to get in the other team's heads a little bit, let them know they can play with you. Otherwise, if Hopkins gets up big, they're going to get that head of steam, like I said, and go away with the game. So Woodbury, it's great that they're up by 4. They need to stay doing what they've been doing, which is playing good defense, good ball movement, and capitalizing off of mistakes and missed shots from Hopkins.
Hopkins sending 20 busloads of students out to this game. They usually support the boys team in bigger numbers than the girls, and I talked with one of the parents about that as we've got a bounce pass off the mark. But Woodbury recovers. Again, no shot clock, so no worry about having to rush a shot. Inside feed. Drive is too strong from Diallo Powell. He's a 6'1 senior center, and we have a foul on Woodbury.
Woodbury needs to start making their layups. They have at least 3 easy shots that they've missed so far this game, and they could be up by a lot more than just 4 right now if they were making their easy baskets.
And Hopkins not much better. So to finish up that point, I talked with one of the parents of the Hopkins players before the game, and she mentioned the reason why the girls team has struggled to get a big support system is they think, as Chambers misses the three-pointer, picked up by Powell, their belief is the girls play too slow. But when you see the Hopkins boys team, I mean, what kind of standards are they setting?
Right.
I've seen the Hopkins girls team, and they remind me of the Minnesota Lynx. And the way they press, the way they run the ball. They've got a great player in Nia Coffey. He'll be back next year, so he's going to Northwestern. Sydney Coffey going to Marist, the three-point specialist, kind of like Candace Wiggins.
Okay.
T.T. Starks, the flashy guard.
Nice.
Cut the girls team some slack.
Right. You need to be going to the school and saying this to the students.
I'm an equal opportunity supporter, though, of men's and women's sports.
Right.
Basketball is basketball. I love it, period, and I love when I see plays like that on an inside feed to Robert Claypool. Woodbury up by 6.
It's a great find by Ricky Suggs, top of the keys. Watching it happen, sees the cut, makes a nice find.
Did you just say top of the cheese or top of the key?
Top of the key.
That's what you said, top of the key. I thought you said top of the cheese for a minute.
Not top of the cheese.
Woodbury out of fouls to give now with 9:38 left. That could give Hopkins a little momentum as they're down by 6. And for the remaining 9:38 of the period, they will be at the free throw line.
Yeah, if they're smart, they'll take advantage of that. Ken Novak, very smart coach. He's obviously going to use that to his advantage.
Sharp, bullseye. That cuts the deficit in half.
And that's one thing it does as well. When you're in foul trouble, it softens up the middle, which is also going to allow penetration and therefore make the three-point shot a little bit easier.
Fritz can't put down the counter, and it's picked up by Siani Chambers. Chambers kicks out for 3. No. That was a great play, though, set up to Jake White. Just didn't go in.
Yes, that was a very good play. Chambers beat his man off the dribble and created that penetration.
And I think that play was scripted. They scripted that. They had to. Ricky Suggs missing the three-pointer. Claypool there for the cleanup. I think they're just trying to pad the rebounding numbers, the second chance points.
Yeah, great pass.
I know it.
Great pass, Ricky.
That's right. It was a pass.
Right.
That wasn't a shot.
Pass off the backboard, just like Luke Rittenauer.
And how about those Timberwolves? I know Ricky Rubio's gone, and there's been a bit of a fracas as of late, particularly between J.J. Barea and Kevin Love, but the Wolves are relevant again.
They're relevant. They're kind of shrinking from relevance as Rubio is down, and they continue to lose games, but they've already surpassed expectations.
They already passed last year's win total, so that's something.
Far and away. I think
they're at 23 and 23.
They are one game under 500, so I think 23 and 24. But they play tonight against the Spurs, so we'll see how they do. They're not going to make the playoffs, but it's been a good year. Ricky will be back. There's hope again in Minnesota. Nice finish at the rim.
That's Connor McKean. He has 4 points. And Ken Novak Jr. is going to call timeout. Woodbury with their largest lead of the game, 22-15, 8:25 left in the first. Don't tell Woodbury they're out of fouls to give.
Right. They're continuing to play good defense, and sometimes when you have fouls to give, you stop playing tough defense because you're worried about sending the team to the free throw line, which, like I said, can make soften the paint and open up three-point opportunities, but it's not looking like these kids from Woodbury are doing that. They're continuing to play good defense. They're going to give up some fouls perhaps and risk that, but I think it's worth it if you take away the 3 and don't let Hopkins get into that rhythm.
Now I should mention with the Wolves, one of your colleagues, Stephen Lytle from Slam, we had talked before the season, and he said the Wolves remind him of the Lynx, and so I guess if the Wolves don't make the playoffs this year, they'll be going right along the same track as the Lynx. You get the pieces in, you miss the playoffs, and then next year, NBA champions. So 2013, get ready for that parade.
We need to find a wing like Maya Moore.
That will be the challenge. Maybe they can look at one of these players.
Maybe.
Wing and shooting guard has been another spot they're looking to improve on. J.J. Barea up and down, has his highs and lows. Siani Chambers with a pull-up, and he's too strong. Just hasn't found his groove today. He has yet to score, and he's the team's leading scorer at 15.9.
Yeah, he's taking some tough shots. That one right there was not a great look for him.
Fritz short on the three-pointer. Chambers one-on-one. Can he beat Suggs? No, but he'll get free throws.
He wanted that and one to go. He was looking for the ball to get in the hoop. He hasn't seen that yet today.
He's wondering, what in the world do I have to do to put this down?
But free throws are a great way to get back in your rhythm. If you can make 2 here, or even 1, but 2 here, it's going to at least get the ball going into the basket. You get some good feeling off your rotation.
And he is a proficient free throw shooter, 79.1%.
There you go. Ball's going in the hoop. Headed the right direction.
Well, we talked about his struggle so far in terms of shooting. He's a 56% field goal shooter.
Yeah, he's just taking a lot of tough shots yet today. It's been good defense by Woodbury. It's not anything that Chambers is necessarily doing wrong. He might be taking some shots he shouldn't be. There you go. There's a missed free throw for you. But credit the Woodbury defense. They've obviously keyed in on him, and they know that he is their leading scorer, so they're going to have to D him up a little bit tighter than normal.
Claypool is stripped by Martin. Goodbye.
And that's what that trap does. Easy baskets. Again, gets Hopkins into their rhythm. That's what you got to fear if you're Woodbury. Not only the points, but just the momentum off of that turnover.
Claypool missing the runner. Jake Wright with the rebound. Martin weaves through. Now he kicks out. Chambers. He kicks out, and burying the three is Demetrius Martin. Hopkins has trimmed a 7-point margin to 1.
Looks like a good timeout by Novak. He got his kids in the right frame of mind, and they're playing their game again.
Noah Danner in trouble. Gets out of it. Uses up the dribble again. Goes out to Claypool. McKean. And setting up for the three is Claypool, but he's off the mark. Rebound, Ricky Suggs. And
Great
the cleanup
play.
is good. Ricky Suggs with 4 points. Leading scorers Renard Suggs with 10, but he's currently on the Woodbury bench. And a reach and foul that will send Chambers to the line for 1-1.
And that's a great play by Ricky Suggs. You know, you had the missed 3-point shot. Hopkins gets that board. They might have an easy transition attempt off of a long shot like that. Instead, offensive board and points, puts you up 3. Prevents Hopkins from taking the lead even on that next possession for them. So that was a huge play.
We mentioned Chambers going to Harvard and Hopkins sending so many players to Division I schools. Royce White,
Right.
although there was a fracas in Minnesota, he came back. Iowa State made the tournament this year with former Wolves player Fred Hoiberg as the head coach. And what a great comeback story for Royce.
Yep.
Joe Coleman didn't have the greatest of debuts for Minnesota, but I won't get into all the details. Right. Minnesota, I gotta say, we've got a foul, free throws coming for Benjamin Rexroth. I've gotta say, Minnesota fans present a very intriguing sociological observation. They love him at one point, then they go on a losing streak, and then Tubby Smith and the crew are supposedly the worst team to ever hit the court at Williams Arena. I don't get it.
Yeah, we're kind of like that. We haven't seen a whole lot of winners, so when their teams get down, we kind of lose a little bit of hope. But
Rexroth at the line. He's a 56% free throw shooter, averages 5.9 points and 3.7 rebounds coming off the bench. 1 of 2 here, 25-23.
with 6 minutes left, Woodbury needs to finish strong. They need to either keep the lead or keep it close. They can't allow Hopkins to go up and make a big run here before the half, or it could be pretty rough in the second.
Sione Chambers goes out to his brother Kamali. He pulls up. Too strong. Rebound, Rexroth. Danner out to Ricky Suggs. And he was looking for Danner, and Danner got a little tied up.
And you remember that one play where Suggs did find the cutter. This time the cutter wasn't there, and Suggs was looking for the same play.
Ken Novak Jr., the head coach for Hopkins, an alum of Augsburg, one of your rivals, a longtime coach, and one of his assistants happens to be his father.
It's always a good place to get some advice.
Question is, who's giving the advice? Chambers is fouled. Again, Woodbury out of fouls to give. That's a shooting foul. Kamali Chambers, 78% free throw shooter, 4.6 points per game. And I imagine he will be one of the starters next year for the Hopkins varsity team.
Does such a nice job getting into that paint. And that does a lot of things for your offense. Not only does it give you a chance to score, but the collapse from the defense makes everybody else's opportunities a lot better.
Free throws are not going down, though. Ricky Suggs on the rebound. And Woodbury catching a few breaks here. Hopkins not as accurate as they normally are. And that's going to be a foul on Jorgensen.
Right.
They motioned the other way for a moment, but from our vantage point, it looked like Jorgensen collided with his target, and now Hopkins is out of fouls to give.
Yeah, you got to call something there because there was definitely a lot of contact. Didn't look like the right call on Jorgensen.
It was Jorgensen who disrupted the pass over to Woodbury's man. Here's Fritz for three. Too strong. Another offensive rebound by the Woodbury Royals. It's Claypool. Runner, no. Ricky Suggs, yes.
Another strong play from Suggs. He's had a great game so far. He's keeping them in it right now. They're up 3, and he's made a couple of huge hustle plays to keep that lead.
Siani Chambers is hacked. Siani and Kamali, the son of Elise Chambers, who's at the game. She was here to support the Hopkins girls as well. Big family among there. Elise used to do more work with the state tournaments. She used to be an official of high school basketball, but now spends her time cheering on her sons. She went to the University of Northern Iowa, so you can imagine how happy she was a couple years ago when they upset Kansas in the tournament.
Right. It's a good year.
No Panthers in this year's bracket.
Nope. They were in the NIT. I didn't follow how they did, but they did make the NIT.
That makes 2 of us.
The Gophers have been doing so well, I haven't paid attention to the other school.
I don't know if they'll let you in at Williams Arena. Chambers with 4 points all from the free throw line. Here's Ricky Suggs using up the dribble. Passes out to McKean, too strong on the 3. Scramble for the ball, and it's picked up by McKean. Inside to Ricky. And a nice backdoor play, but no good. Diallo Powell couldn't put it down. Demetrius Martin by himself, and Hopkins takes the lead, 28-27.
That's a rough turn of events. Could have had an easy basket to put yourself back up 3. Instead, easy transition attempt, and now Hopkins has the lead.
They tried the backdoor play again, and this time Rexroth is fouled. He'll get free throws. That last basket gives Martin 10 points.
I do got to say, once again, Ricky Suggs, he didn't get the board on that one, but he tipped it out to a teammate, keeping the possession alive. It didn't end up in points, but more often than not, that will, and that's the play you want from your big men. He's averaging 8.4 boards a game this year. It's a big reason why Woodbury out-rebounds their opponents by about 5 rebounds a game. So all those extra possessions are very good for this team.
And while we talk about the strength and depth of Hopkins, Woodbury no stranger to this either. 10 seniors on the team, a very deep roster. I've got a feeling they may have to use it if the fouls continue the way they do.
Right. Yeah, up to 10 fouls already. That's quite a bit for this early in the game with 4 minutes left in the first half. But that's what happens sometimes when you play tough defense against a good penetrating team. You're going to get those fouls, and that's kind of a gamble you have to make, whether it's worth fouling or giving up easy shots. So,
now, do you like trivia?
I'm a trivia fan.
Well, I'll get to that point in a second after this play here. This is Siani Chambers out to number 23 of Hopkins. We'll get that name for you in a second. That is Philip Stribling, who scores the basket. Hopkins up 30-28. Ricky Suggs, number 23 for Woodbury, the son of Ricky Suggs Sr., a teammate of Warren Moon in the Canadian Football League.
Nice.
And he's also related to Tyrell Suggs of the NFL's Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
And speaking of Suggs, it's Renard. His effort in the paint is no good, but McKean is left open. He can't hit the 3. Woodbury not making their shots. Hopkins in transition. Martin with the finish.
Pretty play. That ball fake totally turned around the defender. Terrific play on the transition attempt. And once again, a missed 3 leads to an easy basket for Hopkins. They thrive off of that. You got to get better shots.
And an over-the-back call on Woodbury. Hopkins will shoot in the double bonus.
You can feel the momentum starting to turn a little bit here. Woodbury needs to make a stand and make sure this lead for Hopkins doesn't get any bigger.
The foul is on Diallo Powell. No, it's on Ricky Suggs, I should say. That's his second, and that's something they're going to have to manage for Scott Swanson.
Yeah, been by far their best player so far today, Ricky Suggs. Him in foul trouble is going to be bad things for that interior defense and for their rebounding inside, so they got to keep him out of foul trouble. Looks like they're leaving him in.
And at the line is Philip Stribling. Interesting decision here in high school basketball, of course. You get 5 fouls, and after that you're eliminated.
Suggs is going to have to be very disciplined for the next 3 minutes not to pick up a third.
Going back to 2005, Hopkins has won 5 of the last 7 4A state tournaments.
That's a pretty good track record.
And in that interim, they won back-to-back in 05 and 06. Was Buffalo in 2007 and Minnetonka in 2008. Ball goes over the backboard. That'll be ruled out of bounds.
They needed that one to fall.
So the state championships have stayed, for the most part, in the Lake Conference.
Right.
In the last several years. Hopkins, altogether, this is crazy. 6 state titles since the start of the century.
I think they call it a dynasty.
That is a dynasty.
What, new year? Anything could happen?
I mean, even though they've been in this situation before, that doesn't mean their nerves are any less.
Right.
Martin draws the foul. He'll shoot a pair.
Woodbury's just not getting any shots to fall down on their end right now. They've had a few good looks, some open looks, and they just can't capitalize, which is not great heading into the halftime, obviously. And it's leading, again, to some free throws, to some easy attempts for Hopkins, which is just expanding this lead and making it even tougher on the Woodbury kids.
And the defense for Woodbury just seems to be playing a half step behind in the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, you wonder if the foul trouble is catching up to them, if they have that in the back of their minds, and that's not letting them be as aggressive as they were to start this game, or maybe Hopkins is figuring out some things that they weren't in the first few minutes. So we'll see what happens if they get some good halftime adjustments. Maybe Woodbury can stop that trend, but
and a backcourt violation on Woodbury. A snowball effect is taking place on the Eastern Suburb Royals.
And it wouldn't be a terrible opportunity for a timeout. I know you only have 2 minutes left, but get your kids settled before halftime so this lead doesn't grow to 10.
Woodbury was up by 7, and now Hopkins leads by that margin. Bounce pass inside to Jorgensen, and Jorgensen is blocked by Ricky Suggs.
Suggs again with a great play. And on that block attempt, that's a little risky given he has 2 fouls.
And an offensive foul. That's going to be his 3rd.
That's a big momentum killer right there. You get the nice block, maybe an easy transition at 10, but instead you come down and get the offensive foul on your best player, your 3rd foul on your best player. That's a rough sequence right there.
And the Chambers kids helping out the official clean up on the floor.
It looks like Suggs will go to the bench for the final minute 37. 3 fouls. That's pretty much have to do that now. Maybe even set him for the first few minutes of the second half.
And the 2 Chambers brothers are used to doing this, especially Ciani. He takes part in the Howard Poley Pro City Summer League, the semi-pro league, so to speak, where a lot of the men's pro players, usually from Europe or the developmental league, play. But one of their features is fielding a high school team. And so they get to play against some of the best players. They usually don't win many games, but that's not the point.
Right.
The point with Renee Poley to have that high school team is to give them some experience on how to play for the next level. And so folks like Demetrius Martin and Ciani Chambers, Martin puts down the 3, Hopkins up by 10. They become very experienced. They know how to play against players that are bigger, faster, and stronger, and it sets them up in the high school circuit. A great program. Mario Franco airballs, but he cleans up his own mess. Woodbury needed that basket badly.
Yeah, finally stopped the run.
Ciani Chambers gets tied up, And a foul is called. Woodbury wanted a jump ball, and that's just a tough break.
Yeah, that's a tough call. You know, from our vantage point, we can't see too much of the grabbing going on down there. Obviously, the ref has a better vantage point. Either way, that's great penetration into the heart of the Woodbury defense. You had 4 guys surrounding him down there, but nobody's stopping the ball to get into the paint in the first place. And that's why they're getting all these foul attempts. That's why they're going to the line so frequently, because they're in that paint, and Woodbury's forced to foul to stop the easy shots.
Siani Chambers has scored all of his points from the free throw line, has yet to make a field goal. Leading all scorers, Demetrius Martin with 17 points. He averages 14.1 a game.
It leads back up to 10. It was nice for Woodbury to see the ball finally go in the hoop again, stop that run, but they're going to need to get another basket and not turn the ball over like that.
Phillips dribbling with the steal. Goodbye. 42-30. Hopkins was in trouble for a minute. Now it looks like they're in total control. And more pressure. Amber is in trouble. Usually, though, when you double team, that leaves somebody open, and it's McKean to put down the layup with 15 seconds. Hopkins has time for one more shot.
Yep, that's the risk for Hopkins. You saw the one play they got to turn over an easy basket. The next one they give up an open layup. Woodbury's got to do a better job of finding that consistently and not getting nervous under that pressure.
Chambers runs into traffic, and we're going to have a foul against Hopkins with 1.1 on the clock. So Woodbury will shoot 1-1. In a way, it gives them a break, because I don't know if they would have had time to set up a great play with so little time on the clock.
Yeah, that's a silly foul. You got to know time and score at that point, that there's only a couple of seconds left, and grabbing's not going to do a whole lot of good for you. You got a 10-point lead. Now it's going to be under 10 if he makes these free throws. You know, play smart going to the half with a double-digit lead.
And all it did was get Siani Chambers his second personal foul.
Right.
And getting a friendly bounce is number 34 of Woodbury. That is Diallo Powell. He'll be sending a thank you card to the rim after this game.
And after that last stretch by Woodbury, you got to feel somewhat good that you're not down by double digits, assuming nothing crazy happens here with 1.1 seconds left.
Powell, not many free throws all season. He's now up to 6 of 10 on the year. He doesn't get much action, just 3.7 points per game, but he puts down 2 big points, and that cuts the deficit to within 10. Hopkins will get the shot off. It's Martin, but it's too strong. Still, though, for Woodbury, they were down by 12, and it looked like things were spiraling out of control.
Right.
To only be down by 8, 42-34, is some consolation.
Yeah, it gives you some hope going into the halftime break. You can see what you did to start the game, how effective that was. Maybe you can get back into that, and you're not so far out of it that strategy is not going to work. The fouls are obviously a big concern, because you have some guys like Ricky Suggs who aren't going to be as effective with 3 fouls in the second half. But you have some hope, and Hopkins has been playing pretty well. So going down 8, you're right. That's you know, it's not a great thing, but it's better than being down 12 or 14.
And I'm looking at the fans. We'll go to an intermission in a moment, but the costumes in the girls' tournament were more conservative than the previous year. Nothing too crazy, but I see over at the Hopkins fan section, we have a SpongeBob SquarePants character.
Nice.
And it looks like Hopkins, as we speak, are changing their jerseys. That's actually quite common among fans to have the changeable shirts. Reversible, I should say, so they go from blue to white. So we'll detail all the changes and try to get you some first half stats in a moment. If you want to order a DVD copy, just click the purchase DVD link on the Prep 45 screen. Hopkins leads 42-34 at halftime. We'll return in a few minutes to the Minnesota State High School League Boys Basketball Tournament. You have just heard the Hopkins drum line take the floor of Target Center, and I'd say that performance pumped me up.
Yeah, that was very good. Crowd got into that as well.
That was very good. That's all you have to say.
That's all I have to say.
Well, Kyle Miller,
I'm understated about my drumline critiques.
Kyle Miller, the band director at Hopkins, may not like that understatement of yours. I'd be careful. I know we're kidding. If you just joined us, this is the Minnesota State High School League Boys Basketball Tournament quarterfinal round. I'm Mike Peden with Tim Allen of Canasupis. And let's take a look at our first half stats. Hopkins leading Woodbury 42-34, a big run by the Hopkins Royals. They were down by 7, 23-16. And now we're up 42-34. They led by as much as 12. Demetrius Martin, a big reason for that. 17 points, 6 of 8 in field goal shooting, including 3 trays. Next player is Siani Chambers with 7 points, all from the free throw line. Has yet to make a field goal, has missed all 4 of his attempts. Nobody on Hopkins has more than 3 rebounds, though, and that's because Woodbury's done a great job at rebounding. They have a slight edge, 20-15. Renard Suggs leading in scoring with 10 points. Ricky Suggs with 6 points, 5 rebounds. Both of them have 3 fouls, though, and that's going to be a big problem for the Woodbury Royals. And if you haven't figured it out by now, this is a battle royale.
Battle royale. That's a great line.
If I had a nickel every time someone said that, I'd have a dime.
Right.
Hopkins overall shooting a little bit better, 48% to Woodbury's 42%. The big difference in free throws, Woodbury got in foul trouble early. Hopkins got a lot of trips, 11 of 16 in the first half. Woodbury just 4 of 6.
And if you look at the three-point attempts as well, Hopkins is 5 of 11, Woodbury 2 of 11. So outside shooting, and Woodbury's had some good looks, they're just not falling. So if you look at that, that's also a big reason why not only the makes themselves, but the fact that Hopkins is often getting out on the break off of those three-point misses from Woodbury. So you look at that percentage, and that's a big discrepancy as well.
To purchase a DVD copy of this and any of our tournament games, from the quarterfinal round to the championship game of any tournament, boys, girls, we still have hockey copies available to you as well, wrestling. Just click the purchase DVD link on the right of the video screen. Prep 45, your official home of the Minnesota State High School League tournaments. Your school plays here. And Dave Lee thought he was the only one who could use that plug. Dave Lee and Richard Coffey will have the action for you starting on Thursday in the semifinal games with 3A and 4A. 1A and 2A take place the following day. And of course, our championship round on Saturday. There's always a lot of fun. Woodbury gets the ball to start. McKean, no. And Woodbury's an empty possession there despite several chances. Jake Wright drives. And a stoppage in play because a player slow to get up. That's Jamal Davis, and he is limping right now. He's going to be subbed out for Kamali Chambers. Davis averaging 7.4 points per game and 5.5 rebounds per game, a 6'4" junior forward.
And once again for Woodbury, they had a few good attempts down low there, some good offensive boards. That's going to pad those rebounding numbers. But unfortunately couldn't get anything to drop, and that was kind of a story of the first half as well. They were getting good attempts, open attempts, and they just weren't putting them down.
You certainly wouldn't like to see any player go out in the state tournament. Jamal Davis so far has 5 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. We hope he's okay. Right for 3, bullseye.
That was a great job of swinging the ball around the perimeter to find him for that open shot. Woodbury was rotating a little bit slowly to the shooters, and that's the reason why they had that open look.
That's Renard Suggs. He can't put down the counter. The rebound, Jorgensen. Hopkins taking control now. Hopkins wearing the blue jerseys, Woodbury wearing the white jerseys. The winner of this game will play the winner of Duluth East and Osseo in our next quarterfinal round.
And Hopkins is coming out with good energy to start the second half. Woodbury is once again looking a little bit behind on defense. Maybe the fouls are playing into their mind a little bit. I'm not sure. A good miss and rebound on that one. Maybe they can get some good momentum after that made basket from Suggs and chip into this lead a little bit in the second half.
45-36. Ricky Suggs now with 8 points. His brother Renard has 10. Woodbury located just outside the 694-494 loop. Kamali Chambers too strong for three. Offensive rebound, it's Siani. Jake Wright. That was a great play, just couldn't put it down. He managed to juke his defender. Renard Suggs, coast to coast, and the layup. That's Ricky Suggs, I should say, but both Ricky and Renard have 10.
Ricky Suggs, a great play. Nobody stopped the ball. He recognized that. He's got a good enough handle. Averages about 2.5 assists a game, so he can pass the ball. He can dribble a little bit as well. He's not a typical big man in that respect, so he can get into the defense. He saw no one was stopping him, and good awareness.
Chambers now 0 for 5 in field goal attempts. He has 7 points, all from the free throw line. Ricky Suggs, too strong this time. And a loose ball foul picked up by Connor McKean. That's going to be his second. 3 players on Woodbury have 3 fouls, both the Suggs and Robert Claypool. Scott Swanson has got to make sure his team is careful.
And you know, if you're making good fouls, nobody can complain about that. But those are the types of fouls that as a coach you just hate, because Jorgensen had the rebound. You know, go back, play defense on the other end. Don't keep after that rebound and get the silly foul. You're not going to be able to steal the ball in that position. So give it up, go back on the other end and play defense.
Those backcourt fouls, always the cheapest
right
in basketball. You never want to give them up. Chambers, inside play to Jorgensen. Jorgensen with 4, and Hopkins back up by 9. It's 47-38.
Pretty simple play there, the roll from Jorgensen. Chambers finds him easily, easy basket. That's textbook basketball right there.
Fritz is short, rebound Chambers. He has his brother open. He finds him, but Kamali is short.
It's a pretty pass.
Woodbury with numbers if they pursue. Bounce pass to McKean, yes.
That was an even better pass. What a find. Suggs is impressing me with his ball handling and passing.
And a steal by Ricky Suggs. That was a risky move, but it pays off. Risky because he had 3 fouls, and if he wasn't careful, he would have picked up number 4. McKean, he works around Jorgensen for the layup.
This is what you needed for Woodbury. Good energy, hands in the passing lanes, good defense, getting turnovers, getting easy baskets as a result, good passing. This is how you're going to get back in the game against a Hopkins team like this.
The lead is now 5. Woodbury led by as much as 7, but I think it's clear Woodbury's not going to go away. Chambers with the runner, he's short. McKean with the rebound, and Woodbury drawing closer. If they could get another basket, the Woodbury fans, I think, would erupt.
Surprising that Chambers is missing all these looks. He's a great scorer. In the regular season, obviously, he led their team in scoring, so surprising he's missing all these shots.
Renard Suggs puts down the pull-up. It's a one-possession game, 47-44. And if you like this action, this is only our first game. We've got 5 more of these for you.
That's a smart timeout. The Hopkins kids were looking a little frazzled there. They didn't know what to expect from this run. They're used to teams folding over and winning pretty easily, and Woodbury's not doing that. They looked a little bit shaken, and Ken Novak Jr. takes a very smart timeout to get his kids back in control. You know, they are the more talented team, so they can harness that talent to overcome this run from Woodbury, put a stop to it, and get that lead back up. Obviously, if you're Woodbury, you want to keep this intensity up. You want to keep the defensive intensity up especially, because that's what's leading to some of these easy baskets.
13:06 left. Renard Suggs is up to 12 points. And we can't go further without mentioning that this is the 100th anniversary celebration of state tournament play. For the boys, this has been going on since 1913 in state tournaments.
How old were you in 1913?
My genetic code had not existed yet. It wouldn't for another 64 years. 74 years.
It's too early to do math.
Chambers for 3, and that's a perfect time to get your first field goal. Siani Chambers with 10. Let's see if that stops the bleeding for Hopkins.
And how good is Ken Novak Jr.? Gets a great shot out of a timeout. Once again, a huge basket for his best player.
And it was the first timeout that Novak Jr. called that got Hopkins that big run.
There's a reason why he's been so successful with this team. He knows what he's doing. He makes great calls like that. Obviously, he does a lot in practice as well, but the in-game decisions like that are what has made this team successful for so many years, as you pointed out earlier.
Jorgensen is fouled from behind, and I believe that's on Ricky Suggs. Yes, that's his fourth.
23, Ricky Suggs. That's his fourth.
That's a killer. We'll see if he's taken out of the game here.
He almost has to be now with 12:15.
You might want to save him, but at the same time, you know, he's the key to this run. So if you take him out, maybe you're so far behind when you bring him back in that it won't matter anyway. So that's a gamble the coach has to make in this position.
That puts Jorgensen at the line. We mentioned 77% free throw shooter, and he will be taken out for Benjamin Rexroth. Jorgensen, 10.4 points, 6.5 rebounds a game this season. Now, I don't know how long you followed the state tournament, but were there any teams that you watched in high school basketball that really stood out?
You know, we always watch the teams up in our Central Lakes Conference to see how well they would do. Alexandria, Brainerd. We had a couple of good teams up there. The St. Cloud teams were sometimes okay. Litchfields of the world that maybe weren't the metro area teams. We would watch those teams to see how well they did.
And Woodbury was caught up in a trap, and they get bailed out by a silly Hopkins foul. It's on number 23, Philip Stribling. That's his first personal. Not much concern in terms of foul trouble for the Hopkins players, but bailing out Woodbury is not what Ken Novak Jr. had in mind.
No.
Renard Suggs can't put down the tray. Rebound, Stribling. Or that's Stephon Sharp, and a kickball.
Yeah, he saw that lane, but he couldn't thread the ball through there. But you're absolutely right. Even if you're not in foul trouble, making those silly backcourt fouls is not gonna do your team any favors.
Demetrius Martin had 17 points in the first half, has yet to score in this half. Sharp has a lane. Got it.
It's the smart move. To bring the
lane just opened itself up.
Right. The trap came. He was patient. The trap left, and he had the wide open lane to the basket.
Woodbury sprung the trap all right, but it was on themselves.
Right. Good
Bounce
luck.
pass to Rexroth, and a foul on Hopkins.
It's a good roll, good find, and forces the foul.
It's on Stribling, his second personal. 11:09 left. Hopkins, of course, has had much history in the 100 years of state tournament play. Danner is blocked. That is Tyler Graves, I should say, who was rejected. I believe that was Stephon Sharp on the rejection. Tyler Graves making his first appearance. He's a 6'3" senior guard. And I'm looking at this height just on Woodbury and Hopkins, and I'd have to say I'd feel pretty short if I hung around these guys. I stand at about 5'11".
Be in the backcourt. Be a good point guard.
Maybe a shooting guard.
Shooting guard. The Wolves need a shooting guard. Sign
Graves puts down the tray. A badly needed basket for the Woodbury Royals. Graves with his first field goal. Yeah, the Wolves need a shooting guard. Do you think they could sign me up?
Might as well. He couldn't do any worse.
Then we'll give Kevin Love someone else to yell at.
Right.
Hopkins turns the ball over. As much as they've been in control of this game, they are giving Woodbury every opportunity to stay in this.
You're absolutely right. They're leaving the door open, and Woodbury's got to take advantage now. This is the time when you need to start chipping in. You can't wait until later in the game to make your run. You got to make a run now. With Suggs on the bench as well, when you bring him back in, this lead has to be close enough that he can still make a difference.
Diallo Powell holding the pass, and it goes back out to Renard Suggs to reset the Woodbury offense. Suggs drives. That's a tough shot, and he draws the blocking foul.
It's a tough shot, but he's forcing the action. You know, he had the defender on his heels. He was backpedaling. He knew he was going to either get an easy shot or the call there in most situations. So that's actually a smart move, even though the shot did look tough.
The foul is on Stephon Sharp. Bernard Suggs, 71% free throw shooter. Hopkins, as we mentioned, a lot of places in recent history. The boys and girls have won side-by-side championships twice, in 2006 and 2011, and could do so again in 2012.
And that's got to be good, matching the teams. You know, you're gonna have bragging rights if you win the championship one year and the other team doesn't.
That's happened a few times as well. Martin misses the three. Woodbury could come within one possession again, and McKean beats all the coverage for the score. It's 54-51, back to a one-possession game. And Woodbury is doing this without Ricky Suggs, who's sitting with 4 fouls. Hopkins has a great facility to play in. Chambers, three-pointer too strong. Rebound McKean. Woodbury could tie on this possession.
Chambers with another miss. He is not having a great day from the field.
Woodbury has a nice gym too. I've been out there a couple times. Claypool, three-pointer. We're tied at 54. That's Diallo Powell, I should say. I got so excited. I'm getting the names and numbers crossed up, but most importantly, we're tied.
Great shot. The atmosphere comes alive, and the Woodbury fans just erupted off of that shot. That has some great energy back in this team. We have a tie ball game with 9 minutes left.
And Ken Novak Jr. calls timeout. Woodbury was down by 12 late in the first half.
Terrific run. Now you have to sustain this run by still playing smart when you get out of this timeout. You can't, be happy with what you just did. You got to the tie. That's great. You got to keep pressing forward.
54-54, and Hopkins, we were talking about facilities. Hopkins has a great one, the Lindbergh Center, located in Minnetonka in terms of city boundaries, but don't get your schools crossed. It's Hopkins to the core. You see all the banners for all the championships. That place gets used frequently, not just for Hopkins basketball and volleyball, but folks will come in. They have an outdoor or indoor track that people can exercise in, a weight room, a lot of basketball courts, a world-class facility that hosts the Dick's Sporting Goods Holiday Classic Tournament, one of the premier girls basketball tournaments in the state around the holiday season. I've had the pleasure of going there many times. They also host the Breakdown Sports USA Tip-Off Classic for the girls circuit. Great place to play basketball. And Woodbury is no less quality in their gym. They may not have a name for it. It's simply called the Lion's Den, but I've been there a few times, covered a few games there. They had a strong girls basketball program for years under head coach Dave Preller. The Woodbury team has done well, and 2 very nice schools.
Agreed.
Hopkins has seen a 12-point lead vanish. Chambers for 3. Over the backboard, and that's out of bounds. Chambers with just 1 field goal all game.
He's not getting to the line in the second half like he was in the first. That's how he made his points in the first half. I believe all of them were from the free throw line in that first half. And he hasn't shot many free throws in the second half, if any.
And Scott Swanson gets the bailout timeout call as Woodbury was just about to lose possession.
Yeah, smart timeout.
Scott Swanson, no stranger to the state tournament himself. He was a participant back in 1974. One thing that has stepped up over the years, facilities with the state tournament. I don't know if you remember this, and it was certainly long before my time, but they used to play in the Met Center.
Right.
The hockey facility that fit a basketball court in, but really wasn't suited for it.
Right. Yeah, they used to play in Williams Arena, too, Isn't that
And
right?
they still do. The 3A quarterfinals are held there. As well as the 1A quarterfinals, some of the 2A games. They used to have the championships held there.
Yeah.
Some folks feel that would be a better place to host the tournament than the Cavernous Target Center. It's only Cavernous, though, because they took out the courtside seats. I feel this is a better place for it. You don't have obstructed seats. You have more modern amenities, and that might be a little much for high school basketball. There is a nostalgia aura with Williams Arena, but I'm glad they play at the home of the Wolves and the Lynx.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the raised floor, especially as a player.
Well, I don't mind the raised floor. Just it's the acoustics, the obstructed seats, and it's also very cramped for media accommodations.
I mean, as a viewer, you're right. As a player, the raised floor, for me, I never liked playing on raised floors. It just seemed like...
Did you always fall off of them?
Right, like a hazard, but... so from that standpoint, but you're right, the nostalgia factor, there's a little bit more there, but this is a good venue.
Diallo Powell is going to the line. Or you should say committed the foul. Sione Chambers is at the line. That's where he's done most of his damage. And he continues to do so here. He is 9 of 10 from the charity stripe. 12 points in all.
We'll see how soon Ricky Suggs gets brought back in this game.
McKean for 3. Short. Another offensive rebound for Woodbury. The offensive side of the glass has been their strong suit, and Demetrius Martin will be hit with his second personal foul. Martin, another factor behind this Woodbury run. He has not scored at all in the second half.
After a 17-point first half, that's a great adjustment by Woodbury to keep him in check. Focus a little bit more of the defensive attention on him.
Bernard Suggs is blocked. Scramble for the ball, goes right back to Woodbury. This has got to be frustrating Hopkins. Long possessions. Foul, but it's a traveling violation. So no foul, no basket. Ryan Fritz took a few too many steps on that spin move.
That was the right call, but that's a heartbreaker if you're the Woodbury fan to see a great potential and one play and then swiped away. But a good call. Demetrius Martin looking to the sidelines for some help there running the offense. He wasn't quite sure what he was doing on that play.
Sione Chambers is usually running the point guard slot for the Hopkins team. They leave right open for 3. In and out. Rebound, Rexroth. Woodbury still not out of this. Bounce pass inside to Rexroth. How did he beat his man? Jamal Davis stood no chance at him. We're tied again at 56.
That was a great pass, finding him on the cut. Right into his area, got him headed to the basket, and that was one of the reasons why he was effective on that drive, is the pass was placed perfectly.
And a lazy pass. And a foul, or a kickball is called. That's a break for Tyler Graves, even though he had no fouls, but Woodbury at least doesn't use up one of them, but a lazy pass by Graves after Martin missed the three-pointer.
There's a couple of lazy passes. I mean, Woodbury was a kick ball, but they could have gotten that steal pretty easily as well. So on the break, you gotta make a better pass than that to get the easy shot. 2 lazy passes in a row. Just fortunate for Hopkins that they still have the ball.
Jamal Davis back in for the Royals, and they hand it off to Martin to reset the Hopkins offense. Jorgensen is blocked. Clean block. McKean got his hand on it. Woodbury can take the lead. They have not led in the second half.
The if you're Jorgensen, you got to go right up with that. He hesitated, let the defense get set. And suddenly he's going to get...
And one! Renard Suggs!
Wow. Terrific play. And now Woodbury has a 2-point lead with 5:35 left. That's a chance to make it a 3-point lead. That's a huge play. So momentum shifting kind of a play right there.
And Scott Swanson taking his gamble now, putting in Ricky Suggs with 4 fouls, figuring I need my best players with 5:35 to go. And even if Hopkins pulls out to win this game, you have to think, who's ever watching this as Suggs completes a 3-point play, they're going to look at this tape. They're going to know Hopkins is vulnerable. I think it's going to give everybody some confidence that the Hopkins current dynasty could end this year.
Well, I mean, Siani Chambers isn't going to shoot this poorly every game, so they are getting that. Woodbury is.
Well, you're going to deal with some elements that you don't experience in games. Every game is different.
Right.
Another miss. Hopkins can't tie it. Ricky Suggs, mid-range, no. Another Woodbury offensive rebound. That's Claypool, and he's fouled.
Just looking at the body language, Hopkins looks really frustrated right now. All their players are kind of looking around, looking for some help, looking to their coach, you know, what do we do in this situation? And Woodbury's just coming out. They're not thinking, they're giving good energy, and they're being a lot more active on the boards and on the defensive end. That's the key to this game right now. Hopkins has to get their mental state back into it.
You would be frustrated too if you gave up a 12-point lead.
I would, especially if I hadn't won by less than 20 in a couple of months. So
Claypool, not an accurate free throw shooter, just 49%. He misses both. So Hopkins can tie on this possession. You're talking about margin of victories.
I guess I should say they only beat Wayzata and Edina by
less than
14
20,
and 15, but still.
It's a good point you make. When your only loss was back in December, Jorgensen, he can't tie it up. And a steal. Another lazy pass from Woodbury. They can't get too lackadaisical. This is a team that knows how to close, and Jamal Davis with the turnaround J.
And if you notice from Ricky Suggs there, he did not contest that Jamal Davis shot. He was worried about picking up that 5th foul. It was actually kind of smart to lay off there. He's better to give up the easy 2 points than lose one of your better players.
With 4:19 left and plenty of time to go, like you said, you have to back off, but you have to imagine Hopkins is going to attack Ricky Suggs as much as they can, knowing that he has to play more conservatively.
That would be the smart game plan. Push it inside. Don't take as many 3-point shots, especially if they're not wide open.
Woodbury for 3. Are you kidding me? At these offensive boards, but Suggs can't put it down, and Hopkins picks up the ball. They can take the lead back, and that's a blocking foul. Called against McKean. That's his 3rd. Woodbury with just 1 to give.
Yeah, McKean wanted the charge there, but he was not there. He was not in position.
He wasn't set.
No.
He wasn't set at all. That was an easy call to make.
It was very easy. And Ricky Suggs, I know he didn't finish, but he got the good offensive board once again, and that is why he's so valuable. He gives your team so many extra chances.
And another Woodbury foul. Fighting for the rebound, 3:52 left. We're headed for an epic conclusion to the first game of our quarterfinal sessions today.
Connor McKean's 4th foul.
So McKean and Ricky Suggs both have 4 fouls. No one from Hopkins in serious foul trouble. Going to the line is number 23, Philip Stribling. He's 70% from the charity stripe. Both teams out of fouls to give now. So for the remaining 3:52 of regulation, we're going to the free throw line. In fact, if we have overtime, we'll still be in the bonus. Free throws could decide this game. I don't think we're going to need the mercy rule this time, at least not in this game.
Certainly not.
Mercy rule put in place if a team goes up by 35 or more. It is used in state tournament play. We're tied at 59. Every possession is now much more significant. And Ricky Suggs can't get down the roll. Who touched it? It was off of Siani Chambers. And naturally, one set of fans likes it. The other school thinks it's a bad call, but from our vantage point, it looked like Chambers just touched it.
It did.
As he went out of bounds.
Yeah, it did. It looked like a good call, and I don't think those Hopkins fans on the other end of the court have a great vantage point to see the ball go off of Chambers there.
Connor McKee gets the roll. He shakes his defender. He has 14 points. Woodbury up 61-59.
And a great inbounds play to get an easy basket. That's something they've obviously worked on in practice. They ran that pretty well.
Hopkins looking to use the three-point shot. 2 players on the floor with 4 fouls, McKean and Suggs. Martin steps back, too strong. Rebound, Ricky Suggs. And it was deflected off of Jamal Davis.
And Martin has just gone cold in the second half. He has not been able to get it going.
Still scoreless in the second half. If Woodbury can hang on, there's your headline of the tournament.
Right.
I don't care who wins in 4A. We mentioned, though, Hopkins a slightly weaker team than last year, even though they got the #1 seed and had lost just once.
Woodbury barely got the ball in within the 5 seconds that time.
They get across. There is a 10-second rule to get it across the half-court line, and that's a silly foul. That's going to send Ryan Fritz to the line. It's a 1-and-1, but that is the worst time to commit a foul. They're not even going up for the shot, and now Woodbury has a chance to extend the lead.
And that's number 4 on Jamal Davis. So.
And now Hopkins is going to have some foul management to deal with. Davis, are they going to keep him in? It looks that way. I suppose Kent Novak Jr. can't take out his best players at this point either.
No, only 3 minutes left. You kind of deal with it at this point and hope that the players play smart.
So Fritz at the line, 53% free throw shooter. He misses. Hopkins with a lucky break there. Kamali Chambers on the floor. Siani Chambers. And he's fouled. Foul was before the shot. The foul is on 30, Tyler Graves. That's his first personal. But that will send Chambers to the line. He has 9 of 10 from that area.
And Davis does go out with the 4 fouls. We'll see if he brings him back in here. Maybe do a little offense to defense with Davis.
The Hopkins dynasty on the line. Looking to become the first 4A school to win 4 state titles in a row since the expansion to the 4-class system. Chambers ties it up. One school has won 4 in a row. That was Minneapolis, Patrick Henry from 2000 through 2003. That was in 3A though. Holy cow, are you kidding me? Bernard Suggs somehow gets the roll.
Terrific drive by Renardo Suggs, and that's a huge play at this juncture in the ball game.
Just over 2 to play. Chambers kicks out. Martin for 3. No! Rebound. Woodbury's open. It's Renard Suggs. Oh! Woodbury up by 2 possessions. Martin and a steal. It's Fritz. I'm going to lose my voice if this keeps up. Woodbury can kill the clock now. There is no shot clock. Woodbury in control. I can't sit down anymore. Woodbury being smart here, taking their time. Again, no shot clock. They can kill the clock. Renard Suggs, bounce pass, and an offensive foul on Suggs. That's his 4th. And that was not what Scott Swanson wanted to see.
No, that's...
Woodbury foul, a player control foul. It's a
It's a player control foul, so no free throws for Hopkins.
Right.
But a very important turnover they forced.
It kills a little bit of that momentum they had. You know, if they make a basket there, they're up 6, and with 1:30 left, that's a huge advantage right now. Those are some great plays. Let's not lose sight of that. They played some great basketball over that last 30 seconds.
And we've got a timeout, so I can catch my breath here with 1:29 left. We've got Larry Limel standing by. He will be calling the next game. Duluth East Ignacio has plenty of Duluth roots, which I'm sure he'll share in our next game. We want to remind you, if you want to order a DVD copy of this and any of our tournament games, from the quarterfinals to the championship round, click the Purchase DVD link on the Prep 45 webpage. Prep 45, the official online home of the Minnesota State High School League tournaments. Your school plays here.
And as we kind of said at the beginning of the game, you know, Hopkins is not used to these close situations, and when Woodbury is making that run, they looked flustered. They were making terrible passes. They turned the ball over a couple of times. They just did not know what they were doing. So this timeout, huge to get them back playing smart basketball once again.
1:29 left in regulation. Hopkins needs at least 2 possessions. They're down 65-61. They were up by 12, 42-30 late in the first half. Woodbury got a couple baskets, and the big difference in the second half, shutting down Demetrius Martin. He had 17 points in the first 18 minutes, still at a goose egg in the second end. We talked about the struggle for Siani Chambers from the floor. He is 12 of 13 in free throw shooting, or 11 of 12, I should say, but only 1 field goal all game.
The problem for Woodbury, of course, they have 3 players with 4 fouls. That's going to be a huge part of this game. They're going to have to play smart defense. That is a tough shot.
And it goes in for Jake Wright, a 3-pointer. And we've got a foul on Hopkins. It's on Demetrius Martin. That only gives him his 3rd, but again, that puts Woodbury to the line. Renard Suggs, even if he misses, that's not what Ken Novak Jr. was looking for.
No.
A backcourt foul. We've talked about it, the silliest foul you can make in basketball, just off the inbounds play. I know they're going for the steal.
And Martin was yelling at the bench after they made that foul, so clearly there was some miscommunication about what he thought the coach wanted him to do there. He didn't know. It looked like he was maybe fouling intentionally on that play because he thought he was supposed to at this juncture of the game. He was not quite sure, but the free throw misses, so that's a huge break again for Hopkins.
Siani Chambers out to Martin. They're looking for the 3. They're still down by 1. Chambers out to Jorgensen, and he's swarmed, and he can't get the layup. Scramble for the ball. It's picked up by Ricky Suggs, and he gets the timeout call.
Oh, that's a big
Woodbury
timeout.
had plenty of them. They had 4 left in the pocket. Now they have 3.
Saves a turnover. That's a big.
Well, I was expecting a timeout to be called anyway because there were so many Hopkins players swarming in the baseline.
Yeah.
That was the right call.
It is the right call, but
no, wait, it's a foul. It's a foul on Davis.
Oh, all right. And that's Davis's
I stand
5th.
corrected. Jamal Davis fouls out of the game.
And who else comes up with that board but Ricky Suggs, who's been on the glass all game long.
So while Woodbury has 3 players with 4 fouls, Hopkins has a player who has to sit. He may only have had 7 points, but losing a starter at this point could be a killer. But Woodbury not getting it done from the free throw line. If Hopkins hangs on, that's going to be the difference. Chambers is fouled.
And
That's not the player you wanted to foul either.
They've had some
almost perfect
big opportunities at the foul line and have not taken advantage of any of them.
The foul is on Fritz, his first, but Chambers at the line. He is 11 of 12. Graves and Rexroth going in. Ricky Suggs will sit out. It's a defensive substitution by Swanson. Again, Suggs with 4 fouls. He doesn't want to risk a foul out here if Chambers can't hit the first one, but he does.
Chambers is a good free throw shooter. He's only missed one today so far. Could give his team the lead right here.
No!
Did
We're
I jinx
tied
him?
at 65.
Am I responsible for that? I think so.
Woodbury can hold for the final shot if they wish. There is no shot clock, and unless you get a really good look.
That's not it.
I don't know why they did that. I really don't. Because now Hopkins can hold for the final shot to win the game. I mean, if I was Woodbury, I would have held it, let the clock run out, and if you don't make it, force the game into overtime.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. It's not like the pros where you can go 2 for 1. You can run that shot clock, or that game clock all the way down. So,
well, it is a shot clock too. Chambers, step back, no good. Rebound. Will Woodbury call a timeout?
yeah, they got the timeout.
With 1.5 seconds left.
We'll see if they put any time back on the clock here. Looked like he called it a little bit early.
We do not have a video review because this game is not being televised by Channel 45. We do have the video coverage, but this is not a televised game in the traditional sense. 1.5 seconds, oh my goodness. What play does Woodbury run?
It's going to be tough because they're inbounding from so far back. They're going to kind of run a couple of down screens and get somebody to cut open for a three. It's going to be tough to get the ball in, especially if Hopkins is defending it well, which you know Ken Novak will do that, given his expertise. So it's going to be a tough shot. Not impossible, of course, but 1.5. You know, you're going to have a little luck here.
Too bad Kevin Love's not out there, otherwise you could set him up for a three-pointer, right?
Right.
The game-winning three.
I don't think
like
Hopkins
he did with the
plays.
Los Angeles Clippers.
I think Hopkins plays better defense than the Clippers. So I mean, you know.
Well, what about Luke Rittenauer? He got that game-winning floater against the Jazz.
That's true. That's true. We'll see if Woodbury can come up with any magic here. You're going to overtime. It's definitely going to favor Hopkins, given Woodbury's foul situation. So if you're Woodbury, you hope for some miracle here. Not have to go to that extra period.
And Hopkins has to play smart defense here because they're in the double bonus, both teams are, so they foul. All Woodbury needs is one free throw, and there's your ball game.
Yeah, Ken Novak has to be stressing that. You know, you want to play good defense.
You got to contest them, but do not foul.
Exactly.
Do not foul a shooter. Do not foul anybody.
That would be a terrible way to end this game on a cheap foul like that. You want to see a made shot right here if you're Woodbury.
Connor McKeemel inbound from behind the half-court line. They have 1.5 seconds. Finds his man, but it's deflected.
Yep.
And we're headed for overtime, or are we? It appears we... Yes, we are. There was no timeout called. Overtime here at Target Center. 65-65.
They ran Renard Suggs off of that screen, but Hopkins read it pretty well, so they were able to anticipate the pass. They didn't even get a shot off. So a good play by Woodbury, but better defense by Hopkins to sniff out that play.
Woodbury has played in overtime before, winning 2 games this year, once against White Bear Lake and in that section final against Roseville. Hopkins has not played overtime at all this season.
They have been close enough to go to overtime in most games
so,
this season.
While you mentioned the foul situation does favor Hopkins, remember Jamal Davis is out of the game with 5 fouls, of course. Woodbury has 3 with 4. McKean and the Suggs brothers. So there's some contrasting styles here that would favor both teams. Woodbury having won 2 overtime games, Hopkins not playing an overtime because they haven't been close enough. Like I said, if I'm the rest of the schools watching this, I know Duluth East and Osseo are waiting to take the floor. We're going to have a bit of a delay actually because of this overtime period. You have to think if Hopkins goes on and wins this game, the other schools are going to be salivating because they know Hopkins will be vulnerable.
That's true. But again, Woodbury's had a great effort here. You don't want to discount them. It's not all Hopkins.
It's not over just yet.
Right, it's not over by any means. But, you know, you want to give Woodbury a lot of the credit here. And sure, there are things you could take away if you're Osseo and Duluth East. But at the same time, a lot of it is just, you know, if you defend the shooters, if you get out on their shooters, you don't allow them to get easy looks from the perimeter, which is what Woodbury's done in the second half. That's one way where Hopkins gets frustrated. They're used to easy baskets. They're used to Demetrius Martin's used to 17 points in the first half. He's making those shots. In the second, it's not going down, and he's getting frustrated. And that blends over to every other aspect of the game. So that's what these other teams can really take is you guard their shooters, you frustrate them, and you get them out of their rhythm.
So we have a 4-minute overtime period, and we will continue to play overtimes until a winner is decided. And Demetrius Martin calls glass. Finally gets his first basket since the first half, and Hopkins with a 67-65 lead.
That's not a good sign for Woodbury, getting Martin going.
Fritz missing the three-pointer, and a lot of missed opportunities on Woodbury, just a lack of discipline in those last few minutes allowed Hopkins to come back. Lazy passes, Siani Chambers drives, and he'll go to the free throw line. Missed free throws. But the lack of discipline overall, I think, if Woodbury doesn't hang on to win, is what will make the difference in this game.
Yep, Woodbury had their chances for sure. They could have put this game away on many occasions, making a few free throws, making better passes. You're absolutely right. They had their chances. So
Ricky Suggs fouls out with 10 points. Rex Roth will go back in. Both teams in the double bonus from here on out.
And that's a huge loss. Ricky Suggs, there have been other good players for Woodbury today, but I think he's been their best player today. He's kept a lot of balls alive. He's played good interior defense, and that's a huge loss.
Chambers has missed just 2 free throws all game, and he has a chance to put the pressure on Woodbury. It's a good thing the 4A games tomorrow in the semifinal round are in the evening, because otherwise I think whoever wins this would be a little tired.
Right. But what a great way to start off the day.
And a steal. It's Nick Jorgensen. This could be the Hopkins run that decides the game. And Chambers is fouled, and that's on Renard Suggs. He is done too. He'll foul out with 21 points. And great awareness by Chambers, knowing these guys have 4 fouls, and he's just driving against them, and now he's sending them to the bench.
Yeah, that's good recognition. Something they weren't doing towards the end of the regulation period. But now they lose both Suggs brothers. And if you're Woodbury, you're really behind it right now. It's going to be tough to come back with that 2 of your best players on the floor. Already down 4 and could be down 5.
Siani Chambers, 2 shots.
Harvard's going to get an accurate free throw shooter, I can tell you that.
Yeah, he's been good today, other than that one towards the end of regulation. But other than that, he's been money from the charity stripe.
15, 16 of 18.
That's a pretty good day at the line.
And he has tied Martin for the game high in scoring, a team high, I should say. Despite just making 1 field goal, the ball goes to Hopkins, and I think the defending champs and favorites to win again will hang on despite the scare.
Get another foul away from the ball.
And we go back to the missed free throws on Woodbury in those 1-and-1 situations, and the lazy passes that allowed Hopkins. And that last possession too, I thought Renard Suggs was trying too hard to get that basket.
Right.
I would have held for the last shot.
I agree with you. If it would have been an easy shot, sure, take it that early. But that was not an easy shot. That was contested. And you're absolutely right. Pull it back out. And there are a lot of things they're going to be able to look at, when they go back into the locker room. And tonight when they're reviewing what happened, they're going to have a lot of things to look at as to why they looks like they're going to lose this game.
Meanwhile, Siani Chambers continues to pad his free throw numbers, 17 of 19. He now has 20 points. Certainly not flashy today, but he got the job done. And we don't have an official Player of the Game award in the webcasts of the quarterfinals, but I'd have to give it to Siani Chambers for how consistent he remained. Demetrius Martin struggled, got one field goal to start the overtime period, but outside of that was shut out by the Woodbury defense. Chambers, meanwhile, continued to make free throw after free throw, not succumbing to the pressure, showing his experience of making the target center his second home.
Right, and the smart thing for Chambers is he knew his shot wasn't going down as he
Here's
gets
a
the
steal by
and
Chambers.
a hard foul. Chambers is still down. That's a good foul. Not who's going for the ball, but a good hard foul.
And I'm looking at his mother, Elise Chambers, and
he's
I think
up.
she's trying
Good
to call
see.
for a flagrant. Well, she and her mother's cheering too. I think they were maybe looking for a flagrant, but that wasn't. That was just a hard foul,
yeah.
but that was not a flagrant. But I don't think Chambers minds. That puts him back to the free throw line. And the way he's been, I think he wants to get fouled.
Yeah, what I was going to say is his shot was not fouling, and so in that situation, apologize, Mike. In that situation, you want to get to the foul line. You want to force the action because you know your perimeter game is not where it's at. He was very smart for doing that, recognizing that early on, and getting to the line as often as he has.
He now has the game lead. You don't see that often, the player with the game high in scoring with just one field goal. But as he makes another pair, Hopkins up by 10. I think they've got this locked up. Hopkins fans were chanting MVP. And he certainly deserved it.
Right.
A foul on number 23, Phillips Stribling, but it is of no consequence here for Hopkins now. They're up by 10, and unless something really freaky happens in the last 2:02, they will move on to the semifinal round.
That is one thing you want to avoid, though, stopping the clock and giving free points with no time ticking off. If you're Hopkins, that's the last thing you want to do right now. You got a 10-point lead.
Woodbury just hasn't been getting it done, though.
Yeah, they've been horrible from the free throw line, but if you're Hopkins, you give them an easier shot. You let them make that shot versus getting 2 free throws, although given the free throw performance, maybe that is the smart percentage play right now, but finally gets one to go down.
The second one, Klink goes in. But like you said, one of those strange ordeals. The game's high score is getting it done for mostly the free throw line. We've got another foul. Jorgensen will shoot a pair. And the high percentage play is fouling Woodbury.
Right.
Could this get any stranger? Well, the roof could collapse, but I hope that doesn't.
Yeah, let's not hope for that today. The Wolves got a game on the 25th. We got a lot more high school basketball action.
We've got another game right after this. We've got 5 games altogether, and we may be running behind schedule today with our set of 6 games with this long overtime period. Jorgensen 1 of 2. Offensive rebound, Stribling, and Hopkins can play keep away here with less than 2 minutes to go. They're not going to foul Siani Chambers again. Right over to Stribling. Stribling beats his coverage, and that should do it. Woodbury, a fine effort, but those missed free throws and those aggressive plays, a blocking foul is called. That will send Claypool to the line. That will haunt them, especially the group of 10 seniors, for a long time to come.
Those Woodbury fans look pretty stunned as well. They're pretty excited towards the end of this game, and they are just obviously, disappointed for their team. Can't blame them on that. They were so close to getting this huge upset. It would have been, like you said, story of the tournament. So feel bad for the fans. Feel bad for the players as well. They had their chances.
It's worth noting Woodbury's lack of free throws, obviously a difference in this game. I'm not suggesting Woodbury doesn't practice this, but when people mention free throws, and they tend to come up in late game situations, so Kansas and Memphis from a few years ago in the NCAA tournament final, there was a study in the New York Times that mentioned free throws, on average, account for 20% of a team's total points. So we're looking at the college game, but you can apply those principles to the other levels. And when they account for such a small fraction, as we've got another foul that will send Martin to the line, some coaches or players may not work on them as much as they should. And when it comes to late game situations like we see here, and those missed free throws which pile up, all of a sudden, those free throws don't look so minuscule.
Right, but yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even if you look to the pro game, a guy like Dwight Howard is not as effective as he could be because he cannot make free throws at the end of games. Translating that to the other levels, Woodbury lost this game because of free throws. You're absolutely right. If they focused a little bit more, perhaps, on those end of game situations, making free throws in those tough, pressure-filled situations, perhaps they are celebrating right now instead of down, 12 with 1:19 left to go. So it's a good point. It's definitely something worth noting.
Of course, Shaquille O'Neal was notorious for his free throw shooting. It was a running gag throughout his career. He won several titles, though.
He always said he used to make them when they counted, though. That's what he used to say. I don't know if it's true, but
I think one time he miscalculated his own free throw percentage earlier this year when he was on the TNT crew. Could you imagine if we had a Shaq and Charles Barkley-like figure on the 45 crew? There'd be some entertainment for sure.
Definitely would.
But we've got Trent Tucker. We've got Richard Coffey. Basket by Mario Franco, but it's a moot point now as we enter stat padding time.
1 minute remaining.
Chambers out to number 42. We'll try to get a name on him. That is Nicholas Johnson, the 6'5" junior forward. Hopkins with perhaps the biggest scare of the season. And on the box score, it may look like Hopkins had this game in the bag. The score was not indicative of this game.
Siani Chambers, 2 shots.
And Siani Chambers telling his teammates, you don't need to force at this point. You can hold on to the ball. You don't have to do much at all. You don't want to create a turnover, and something wacky can happen.
But then he couldn't make more free throws.
Right.
There is a guy who's worked on free throw shooting in the gym.
Right.
And for Hopkins.
Well, he's going to Harvard. He's a smart kid. He knows what to do.
Yes, he is. Harvard, also the collegiate alma mater of Matt Burke, the former Minnesota Viking, who still plays for the Baltimore Ravens. And I think Jesse Ventura went to Harvard.
And we couldn't go a whole broadcast without mentioning Jeremy Lin. We have to get him in somewhere.
That's right.
So
it's not a Lin sanity, it's a Siani sanity. How would you put that together? It has been for the free throw line for him. 25 points today, 22 of 24 from the free throw line. Inciani, maybe that's what we'll call it.
That works for me.
Inciani, start the hashtag right now. Making the three-pointer is number 32, Noah Danner. And it will go over to Woodbury, but just not enough time. So we'll start a new hashtag. Inciani. We've got Linsanity. That's a great story for him, too, and I don't think Ciani's looking to go pro in terms of, I'm the best in the world. Most players aren't. But to see a player like Jeremy Lin go from an Ivy League school, that doesn't get a lot of coverage. They're not known for dominance in the NCAA tournament, to an NBA D-League, not expected to do much, to becoming the starting point guard for the New York Knicks and capturing the heart of the country. Getting a three-pointer off the glass is Mario Franco.
Yeah, it was a good story. He's starting to come back down to earth.
Well, so did Ricky Rubio until he got the injury.
Right.
But a great story, and it might give hope to folks like Siani Chambers that maybe you too can join the NBA coming out of Harvard. Second stick away, the three-pointer will not count. Hopkins wins 82-75, thanks in part to Siani Chambers, 25 points, 22 of 24 from the free throw line. He's certainly getting my Player of the Game award.
Yeah, he was fantastic from the free throw line, made a lot of smart plays. And towards the end, they were getting frazzled, and he kind of calmed them down with his smart, poised play. So, and you got to give it to Ken Novak. He made some great calls. He took some good timeouts. He got his players settled, and he ran some good defensive and offensive sets there. So, Siani Chambers, Ken Novak Jr. both did a great job in getting this win.
And you have to give Chambers credit, as Demetrius Martin was shut down just 2 points after the first half. Chambers was clutch.
He was, and for Woodbury, you know, you got to feel good about your first your regulation performance. Other than your free throws, you're in the game. You're giving yourself a chance. You know, a lot of people didn't give them that chance entering this game, so at least you're close. Heartbreaker at the end.
So I'm going to spend the next few games, or the next game here, getting my voice back. That was a crazy finish at the end of regulation. Hopkins wins 82-75. They move on to play the winner of Duluth East and Osseo, which will start in about 25 minutes. One more time, you can order a DVD copy by clicking the Purchase DVD link on the Prep 45 screen. For Tim Allen and everyone here at Prep 45, I'm Mike Peden. Thank you for watching.